In this video, I'll be building a staircase to connect the two parts of my Lego city, starting the work on the lower section of my Lego city as well as continuing with my mountain. So I'm starting off by designing the staircase, which is completely built out of illegal building techniques because I've put too much tension theoretically on the 1x2 plates, but honestly, I don't care. I love using illegal building techniques, and the result you get with that curved staircase is absolutely beautiful. So right now what I'm doing is I'm testing how further up I need to go with the stairs in order to reach the path on the upper platform of the city. And my plan now is to have the upper part of the stairs not curved, but in a straight line towards the point where we reach the height of the upper platform. So this is exactly what I've just done. In order to now place the staircase into the Lego city, I obviously have to finish the groundwork first. So I'm simply using bricks in order to then place plates on top of that. In just a bit, I'll cover all the studs of the plates with tiles in order to have a smoother surface. Before doing that, I however need to check the exact points where the staircase needs to be connected to the ground, so I can then build in different studs in between the tiles to fix the staircase. I'm starting off by building a small wall towards the train tracks in order to have the two areas further separated. Now with my first basic tiling, which only consists out of 2x2 tiles, I later on in this video show you how I'm planning on changing that. But for now, as you can see, I've also prepared the studs in order to then connect the stairs to the ground, and so far this works perfectly fine. Now I'm starting with the first experiments for the railing. I later on probably changed the color because now I've used dark brown, which perfectly fits to the train tracks. But as I'm gaining height with the railing, you can see that on the upper platform, I've chosen to build the fences out of black pieces, which really doesn't fit the dark brown I'm using right now. However, I don't have the parts I'm building the railing with in black here, so this is something I'll change in a few weeks or something, as soon as my next Pick a Brick and Bricklink orders arrive. So far, I'm absolutely satisfied with how the staircase turned out. However, there's a lack of color, so this is the next part I'll be working on. I've started off by taking measurements for a fountain I'm planning on adding into this small curve that is created by the staircase. The problem I'm having right now is in order to have a more realistic looking watercolor, I need to change the plates that I've used beneath the tiles. So this is exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm removing all the dark bluish gray plates in order to then replace them with blue plates. This will then be the ground level for trans light blue plates I'll be placing on top of them to then have a proper watercolor. All that's now left of the blue plates I've just added is a small 4 stud by 4 stud gap, which obviously is the exact size of the fountain I'm adding right now. I've surrounded the fountain with light bluish gray tiles as well as light bluish gray curved tiles on the edges because that better fits the round staircase. For the fountain itself, I've decided to use 3 golden 2x2 bricks. I think the contrast of the golden fountain looks absolutely amazing. Still, the area of the staircase definitely lacks color, and so I'm planning right now on adding vegetation along the brick wall. And well, this is then connected, unfortunately, once again with the process of rebuilding the entire wall of the staircase, because I'm adding the studs via brick modifiers in order to then be able to connect leaves to the wall. I further supported the whole staircase with this structure beneath, as you can see. This was simply to further stabilize the entire thing. Having the stairs rebuilt and once again placed back into the Lego city, it was now finally time for the rewarding part after the annoying part, placing the leaves onto the studs we've just added. As you can see, I'm adding 2 different layers of leaves because that makes the vegetation look a bit more dense, and I simply prefer, to be honest. I'm further supporting the leaves by adding those small pins. Also, you can see me work around the corner. So this is actually the part I like the most, how the leaves go around the corner there. Also, I've decided to add a small bench into this corner. Brown is a color that doesn't exist so far, so this is one aspect to that. And on the other hand, I think it was still a bit too empty. Next up, it's time for some more groundwork. Once again, I'm using bricks to support the plates I'm placing on top. I've also extended the wall. Then next up, I thought I needed to add some sort of greenery because it was way too gray. And so I've decided to add a whole stripe of green along the train tracks, because that then firstly separates the rest of the town from the train tracks. And also, as I've mentioned, there was so much color missing in this part. And as you'll be able to see in a second, the difference it makes to have not even some sort of colorful flowers added, but simply green, is immense. I'll come back to this area at the end of this video. For now, however, I want to continue the work in the background of my Lego city at the mountain. Once again, all the speed builds you can see are several hours condensed into a few seconds of video, because that's the only way you can actually see how much progress I've made over the past week. This week I was focusing on working in different green spots into the rock structure and also actually creating a transition from the trees onto the rock face itself. I was actually hiking this weekend and took some inspiration from the surrounding mountains, and you can actually really see how the trees are getting firstly smaller and then less dense as you gain altitude. And also something I've noticed is that sometimes trees actually grow from little cracks within the rock structure, and this is something I've now tried to replicate in my Lego city. As you can see, I'm not only adding trees on the green spots I've added in between the rock work, but also directly on the rocks. I've then sometimes used inverted slopes in order to create a bit more space for the trees to grow on, and then I've distributed them within the lower part, obviously, of the rock structure. So this is what the transition from the dense forest looks like onto the rock face. I know the progress is slow but steady, but so far I really like the development. What I now want to focus on is the tiling down at the harbor area. So as a reminder, I'll remove this plate and place it down a bit further. This will then be the harbor itself. And up here, I'm currently planning the exact tiling. As I've mentioned, I want to remove the 2x2 dark bluish gray flat tiles and then either use one of those two patterns I've prepared right here. And after a bit of playing around with the two different templates, I'm now slightly tending towards this pattern because it has two main benefits. Firstly, I have these different modules, as you can see right here, where the base plate ends and the next one begins. I'm having a clean cut in order to have the different modules easily removable. This would not really be the case if I chose this tiling, because then the 1x2 flat tiles would always also reach onto the next module. With this pattern, however, I only have this problem towards this side, and right here I have a clean cut, which is better for the different modules and to have them easily removable. Then I was also thinking about how exactly I could use this small corner right here. I was either thinking about adding one of those small adds right there. As you can see, I've also used them along the wall back there. What I really like is that it would add a bit of color. The second possibility would be to have this door, which would then sort of lead to a club maybe under the staircase. Or the last possibility, and so far probably even my favorite one, is to have one of these doors, which would then either lead maybe to the train tunnels. It would, for example, be a possibility for workers to then reach the tunnel if maybe a signal is broken or whatever. And also what I really like in comparison to the light bluish gray door is that it would add a bit of contrast. Other than that, I've also built a new car mock this week. It is a Mercedes G-Wagon. I've also made an entire video about not only this car, but also the different building techniques I've used in all the other cars in my Lego City. You can check that out up here. And with that being said, that's it for this week's Lego City update. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you again in the next one.